Reed Callahan didn't speak. I swear that kind of silence. It's louder than yelling. Didn't blink. Just raised the yellowed page and let her scream. Her finger jabbed the air. Her voice shook the morning. Neighbors paused mid-step. She stood in front of the sign like it wasn't there. Private property, no trespassing. Behind her, a cop. Behind him, bulldozers asleep. Reed stayed still. Not frozen, just waiting. Because when the truth is loaded, you don't pull the trigger. You let them walk into the barrel. Reed didn't buy the land, didn't inherit it exactly either. He just never left. They called it a dead plot, too uneven, too far from the good school zone. But Reed never listed it, never fenced it. He just kept walking the lines his father once marked by hand, 6 stakes, a compass, no shortcuts. Every year, same thing. Spring rains, he'd clear the drainage himself. Summer weeds, cut them down, 1 row at a time. Neighbors thought it was habit. It wasn't. There's a leather strap on his keys, cracked, stitched once in '94, tied to a hook that opens nothing, except memory. Some days he'd hold it between his fingers, just let the wind pull it sideways, until it pointed due west. Same way the sun used to hit his dad's boots. Same spot the man stood when he said, "Nothing you care about stays safe just because it's yours." Reed remembered that. Even now, especially now. He didn't need fences, didn't need cameras, because this wasn't land, it was legacy. And legacy doesn't get sold, it gets tested. That morning, when they came with machines and smiles, he didn't raise his voice, didn't show his teeth, just reached for the strap, ran his thumb across the stitch line, and waited. Because the thing about men like Reed, they don't start fights. They wait for someone to step where they shouldn't. It started on a Tuesday, a folded notice, stapled straight to the gate, no knock, no warning, no return address. By 4 o'clock, the bulldozers had arrived, idling, waiting, steel teeth lined up like they'd already won. And then she stepped out, dark hair, tight bun, black blazer, heels that clicked like a gavel, no clipboard, just confidence. She didn't shout, she didn't need to. Her voice landed like a verdict. "Abandoned land, past due for maintenance. We have authority to proceed." She never looked at Reed, only pointed, sharp, clean, practiced, as if his silence was a nuisance, as if his memories were red tape. Neighbors watched from their porches. Some nodded, some frowned. No one moved. The paper in Reed's hand fluttered once in the wind. He didn't fold it, didn't lower it, just held it there, between them. The private property sign rustled on its post, the letters half faded, but still there, right next to her shoe. "We've sent notices since last month," she added. Reed said nothing. The old mailbox, split open from last fall's storm, lay sideways in the grass, still bent, still empty. She never saw it or pretended not to. That was her first move. And Reed, he let her take it. Because people like her, they don't need enemies. They write their own downfall, in ink, in process, and always in public. He didn't need to argue. He needed her to finish the sentence, so the whole street could hear it. Maybe this part hit close, when someone crossed a line and acted like it was theirs to draw. I've watched that kind of silence before, when speaking up wouldn't help, but watching felt like losing. If you've stood in that spot, or wished you'd handled it differently, drop a comment below. And if stories like this feel like home, you're always welcome to stay. The meeting was held 3 days later. Community hall, fluorescent lights, lukewarm coffee. Reed came early, took a seat in the back, didn't speak, didn't need to. No one greeted him, no one noticed. Tessa walked in last, black dress, silver folder, heels that echoed with certainty. She spoke for 11 minutes, not a word wasted, like she'd practiced each line in front of a mirror. The board has majority consent. Objections were mailed, no one responded. Reed nodded once, didn't raise his hand, but the pen in his right palm was already recording. Audio, time stamped. She kept going. Stats, zoning codes, enforcement protocol. It sounded legal, it sounded final, but on the board behind her, a vote sheet, typed, laminated. He waited until the room emptied, then walked up, snapped a photo. The name was wrong. Callahan, not Callahan. A typo, maybe. But in HOA law, names define liability. That afternoon, he returned to the land, stayed behind the fence, didn't speak to the workers. But the local officer driving by, Reed gave a polite nod. No small talk, no complaint. That same day, he mailed a certified letter requesting formal verification of voting records. Stamped, signed, logged. The kind of stamp that doesn't argue. It waits. Reed didn't act out. He wrote it down, logged the quote, took the photo, noted the crowd's silence. Because some traps don't snap. They just wait for weight. And Tessa, she was piling it on with every confident step. The Marion Ridge meeting was packed. More chairs, more whispers. Someone brought lemonade. No one touched it. Tessa smiled. Her folder was crisp, her jacket pressed. She stood, cleared her throat, but Reed moved first. Didn't speak, didn't ask. Just walked forward and placed a thick stack of yellow printed papers on the center table. Tessa's smile faltered. "Sir, this forum isn't for personal objections." She reached out to stop him. But Reed didn't look at her. He placed one hand on the stack, held it there. A silver-haired woman leaned in, squinted, read slowly. This is an email from March with our names on it. It says we oppose the project." The room shifted, chairs creaked. Someone muttered a curse. No one looked at the stage anymore. Underneath the emails, scans of the vote summary, 3 typos, 1 forged signature. Reed pulled out a sealed envelope, held it up once, then placed it beside the stack. Certified mail, stamped March 14th. Never delivered, no words, no accusations, just evidence. The sound of ceiling fans filled the silence. Paper rustled. People moved closer. Tessa stepped back. Her mouth opened, then closed. A voice near the wall. "That's my name, but I never signed." Another. "That's not my handwriting." A chair scraped. A phone recorded. Someone turned to the officer by the door. The vote wasn't legal. The consent wasn't real. And now, everyone knew. Reed didn't smile, didn't explain. He just stood there, watching the room fold in on itself. And when he turned, he didn't look at Tessa. He looked at the cop, who had been standing there since the first word was spoken. Still silent. Now, listening. Tessa grabbed the mic. Her voice clipped now. Tight. "Those documents aren't valid. Our approval was authorized by the board." No one responded, except Reed. For the first time, he looked up. Slow, measured. He reached into his leather case, pulled out a folded map, brittle, creased, yellowed. 4 folds, then flat on the table. No speech, just one finger, pointing, a faded brown line, handwritten clause. From the end of the table, a man in a flannel shirt leaned forward. "Wait, that's the 1928 land condition." Another voice, sharper, younger. "What's a transitional ownership clause?" "Hold on, if that's still binding, then those houses..." Tessa didn't blink, but her hand gripped the mic tighter. A drop of sweat broke across her temple. Reed turned the page, just once. A notarized slip, dated 1974, signed by Thomas Callahan. "My great-grandfather," Reed said. One line, that was it. The room froze. The female officer who had been watching from the back stepped forward. Her badge glinted once under the overhead light. She didn't raise her voice. "I'll need this document for submission to the county court immediately." No one argued, no one moved. The microphone in Tessa's hand, cut out, not muted, just silent. People stared at the map, at the coffee stain in the corner, at the laminated strip protecting one line, the only one that mattered. And in that silence, you could hear chairs shift, phones being raised, slowly, cautiously. Reed didn't explain, didn't celebrate. He just stepped back, like the move was finished long before today. Because sometimes the truth doesn't rise, it's just released. At the moment, they can't bury it anymore. Morning, no crowd, no machines, no voices. Reed stepped onto the grass, a small wooden chair in one hand. He placed it under the oak tree, same spot, same shade. He sat down, didn't scan the land, didn't gloat. Just opened a rusted tin box, pulled out a cloth, a small bottle of oil, and a brass lock, dulled by time. He cleaned it slowly, gentle strokes, not for function, for memory. From far down the road, a silver SUV slowed, didn't stop. But the driver's window rolled down halfway, then closed again. Reed didn't wave, didn't nod. He looked instead toward the edge of the house, an old wooden post where a nameplate used to hang. Nothing's there now, and that's how it should be. Still, he walked over, pulled a hammer from his belt, tapped a crooked nail. Once. Talk. No one watched, no one needed to. Tessa never came back. No letters, no claims, just wind and soil. And a man who never left. That brass lock. His father gave it to him when he was 12. Not to guard, he'd said, but to remember where the gate once was. So Reed polished it every July, every year, never missed. And today, he did it again. Not for victory, not for proof. Just to put the world back in its place. Not everyone fights to win. Some just want no one to touch what they kept alive for too long. Some people rebuild with bricks. Others just tighten an old screw. Reed didn't raise his voice, didn't chase headlines. He just showed up. Every day, same walk, same ritual. That rusted lock. It never guarded a gate. It guarded memory, the kind no permit could replace. People drove past, slowed down, wondered, but never asked. Because the truth doesn't need a crowd. It only needs to last. There's a kind of strength in polishing what no one else values, in letting someone think they've won just long enough to lose themselves. Reed's father once said, "When the land stops being loud, listen harder. That's when it speaks." Some fights don't end in court. Some never start there. They end quietly, in a room full of silence, where paper cuts deeper than pride. And sometimes justice doesn't look like punishment. It looks like someone still sitting, still tending, still home. Not all victories are loud. Some are just the sound of nothing being taken, ever again.